All right, I don't know if you guys have been seeing, but there's been a lot of talk about parry recently, and the parry from the builds of just people playing the Elena build at EVO Japan. So I don't really know all the comprehensive stuff. I know Hi-Fi has been going like crazy. Somebody said it was going to be normal. People first said there were no perfect parry slowdown. Then there were perfect parry slowdowns on only not on drive impact. Then there was no anti-air perfect parry. Then there is anti-air perfect parry. So I don't know exactly what this perfect parry changes are, and I do think it's getting very confusing and nobody's actually said anything. But there was a broski video talking about parry changes. Hey guys, hope you've been enjoying the YouTube content. I've been working hard to consistently upload on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Be sure to like the videos and hit that subscribe button. So this way is the way I kind of thought it would be, but I don't think perfect parrying a DI is going to change anything if it doesn't trigger the slowdown. If on the jump in attacks, I think it'll be better, but like I said, we still don't know. I'm the person who's complaining about perfect parry anti-air. I still think perfect parry anti-air is omega scrubby, so I thought this would be fine, which I thought was just kind of the general changes, because I don't think that would change too much. Maybe if you're jumping in with a heavy button, you couldn't perfect parry. I don't believe any of this either. It's still kind of weird, and like I said, I guess if you're jumping in on somebody and you're hitting a heavy, maybe it doesn't trigger the screen for you, but to me that doesn't make any sense either. Why would you do that? I wouldn't even like if they turned perfect parry into one frame, because it will feel even more sacky. I don't like perfect parry, because imagine if you're playing like Yu-Gi-Oh and you have like the best board and your opponent has one card that they could draw out of their 60 card deck, and they draw it and they're like, haha, I drew Dark Hole, I won now, stupid. That's what I think perfect parry is like, and I don't think it should feel like that. You shouldn't just luckily draw the out. I wouldn't like it if it's one frame, because it would feel even more of, oh, just draw the out. Perfect parry would have more recovery frame. Still doesn't even really make sense. I don't understand this one at all either. There are the instances that you do get perfect parry on a crouch medium kick. Like if you walk towards your opponent and then just walk up and tap parry, and then they perfect parry your crouch medium kick, you're like, oh, well, sucks to suck. But you know, you just walk up, tap parry. You wouldn't even want a perfect parry on crouch heavy kicks normally, because usually most crouch heavy kicks are punishable anyway. So you're gonna get a worser combo if you get a perfect parry on crouch heavy kick. I don't know, because like none of this stuff is confirmed yet, but hypothetically, say somebody does drive rush jab at me, I would still want the screen freeze on that, because my opponent's doing this drive rush jab. If I try to check it, I might just get counter hit. So am I just supposed to be, oh, I'm gonna try to perfect parry this drive rush jab and then just immediately get the punish? So that kind of wouldn't make sense either. It's funny because that I think would make the game kind of more stupid. This is all where everyone kept speculating. Any one little change to this game changes so much, and it's so crazy. And it's so crazy to think about. One little change can make the game feel like it's so out of whack. So from that's kind of like what Hi-Fi was saying about the new perfect parry. But even then, this is weird too, because it makes parry less annoying for sure. And if you do get the true perfect parry, then you would be like, okay, he knew exactly what I was gonna do. But I think for a lot of new players or people just getting into Street Fighter, this is very convoluted, and it's kind of like, this is kind of weird. Parry kind of not making sense. I guess low parry would be kind of less annoying, but like this is very convoluted and it kind of doesn't make sense, because the way I see it, say we're playing and I went for a low parry and I was wrong and my opponent did high move. Say my opponent tried to high parry and I did a low forward. Say my opponent thought I was going to do an overhead, but I did like dash up crouch light kick on him. I think you would have to get punish countered to make that even matter. I don't think just being like, oh, well, here's a worser perfect parry because you were wrong on his high low, but the worser perfect parry would probably still result in a punish if your opponent's ready for it. I don't think new players even thinking about perfect parry anyway, but this is kind of the problem with, like, I don't understand who this is for. This is just confusing. If it's unsafe, if they're wrong, sure, I think that's perfect. I actually think that would be great. If you go for a low parry and I'm like, oh, stupid, I did an overhead instead, then that's fine. But then there's also the problem of you got to give every character an overhead at that point, because every character would have to need a way to blow up your opponent guessing wrong on a parry. So now you got to give every character an overhead. And the other issue starts stemming from, are throws still going to beat parry? This is just mad confusing. This change doesn't even fix the problem of you not being able to do mix-up. What happens if I I just tap parry without hitting back or down back? Wouldn't parry still come out? You'll never get a perfect parry, but even then you still might get an imperfect parry. Now, unless you just can't punish anything if you get an imperfect parry, it still kind of doesn't make sense. And I don't think they would want you to not be able to, like, you get an imperfect parry on like a fireball and then you just immediately punish them anyway, because I think that's fine. But the problem is, if say, I don't know, say hypothetically Luke does like a knockdown, does drive rush overhead on me, and I went for the down back parry because I was like, Luke's gonna do it overhead. I'm wrong. I guessed wrong on Luke doing an overhead, so I still covered my bases of me blocking low, and then I get the quick parry. But even then, I'm still gonna be able to punish Luke's overhead. I'm not stupid. And Luke's overhead still probably has a lot of recovery. The punishment's not gonna be free if you get an imperfect parry. The only time I see that might actually playing a factor is on lights. Everything else, you would still probably get a punish. If you quick parry a heavy, you're probably still gonna get the punish. Same with like maybe medium, it's only on lights and there's no overhead light attack. If that's the main change, like we don't really know what we're doing, we just don't want people to get perfect parried after lights, that's fine. But even then, that's still kind of a very whatever change. I guess more people would pressure with lights so they don't get punished, but that's kind of the only logical thing I see behind this. And to make this super complicated thing, just to probably just, if I were gonna fix it, just make it so the screen doesn't freeze if you perfect parry a light. Don't go through all of this. This seems like a lot of work for no reason. If there's no screen freeze, I don't think you would be able to punish lights, because I think the screen freeze allows you to be able to punish light, but I think the recovery of a light is so fast that no character would actually be able to punish a quick screen freeze off of a light fireball. I mean, I don't think anyone would be able to punish a light with as fast as the screen freeze is, because I think you would be -3. I think the attacker would be negative, but I don't think they'll be punishable, which is fine. But like I said, at that point, just make it so you can't perfect parry lights. I feel like that would be the easier fix. If you wanted to do all this, don't do all of this. Just make it so you can't perfect parry lights. Yes, it'll also nerf the whole character does button in over like a -3 move and then tap parry immediately. So I guess if you try to take your turn back with a light, it's not that bad. And like I said, I still think in the random scenario that this does happen, if I perfect parry a random crouch medium kick in neutral, I still think most people would be able to react to my opponent whiffing a crouch medium kick, because that would kind of be the thing that happened, because the other player would still have to do the entire animation of the crouch medium kick. It probably won't be like plus, however plus it is now. Okay, I am +20. I guess I would be +10 after, so it wouldn't be as easy to punish. Even then, I would still just OF my button anyway. You see how I hit crouch medium punch to punish me going for the perfect parry, but my crouch medium punch didn't come out because of the screen freeze? In the rage sense, it still just happened. You see how whenever I tap parry, my thing just doesn't happen? But I guess on lights, it would matter more, because it would be only -9. So actually no, because without the screen freeze, I would say the better fix would just be like, yo, I can't perfect parry light, because like I said, that kind of all that changes kind of don't make sense, and you would still get punished anyway. These are the parry nerfs that need to happen because they want to get rid of throw loop, but it kind of makes sense. But like I said, I would have rather saw how they got rid of throw loop. I mean, these parry changes wouldn't really help with me not getting throw loop. I guess making your defense worse because the person could just take the throw is kind of the problem. But like I said, there's no right answer for this, really. I mean, this would only apply to characters like Ken and Cammy. But hypothetically, say you're playing Ken and you do like jab, 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 and I want to go for a perfect parry for a jab. If I do jab low forward, it kind of will open you to be susceptible to not getting a perfect parry on my low forward, but then you would just get an imperfect parry and punish me anyway. But this is kind of the problem of why you would, in my opinion, you would have to get punished if you're wrong. If I think you're gonna do jab, 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 and I go for a perfect parry, and I'm wrong because you did jab low forward, the low forward should be punish counter, and then you just take your damage, which I think would be fine. But then it's, like I said, very convoluted, and parry's gonna be maybe trash. This is what I think it's for. And then, like I said, the Ken player is getting the mind game for the Ken player is opening up more, because now Ken would just be able to do crouch jab into low forward if it's a high low parry, because to get the perfect parry like this, you have to hold back, but then you wouldn't be able to down back.
Like crouch jab, crouch.
Ken would be safe here. if there's no screen freeze here, Ken would be safe because Ken would just be like, oh, I'm like -3 here. You have to realize you got parried, but Ken would technically be safe. And then, like I said, your best punish would probably just be jab something. Like I said, to me, the imperfect parry thing doesn't make sense. I feel like they should have just made it so you can't perfect parry lights. But I guess they add more of a mind game if you add it. So I think the thing that Capcom likes is interaction. There was just, oh, you can't perfect parry lights, because a lot of people would just go for light strings so they don't even have to guess what's going on. Then it would be kind of boring because it would be like, oh, well, I'm just going to do light. And then my opponent has to block because he can't do anything else but block here. Versus if I do light, Aki gets a perfect parry. Now Ken's in a mix up because Ken could DP and be like, yo, I didn't like that you perfect parried me. And then Aki's in a mix up too because Ken might DP. And then say if Aki gets the perfect parry, Ken perfect parries back and then does a string again. So it's kind of forcing an interaction, which I think they want with the game, just kind of the game they're designing. But I've always said the thing with fighting game, most of the best strategies in fighting game usually just involve not letting your person play. The way with the imperfect parry would work is still forcing interaction. There's always a guess. There's always going to be some level of coin flip going on here. This is very complicated and doesn't make sense to a lot of new players. I think one thing SF6 has really going for it, and why I always say this game is a very good beginner game, is because this game is very simple. It is very simple to explain to people. The way this parry change is kind of being talked about, it's very stupid. It's very convoluted, and it kind of doesn't make sense. People think, oh, parry's hype. This is not even really a parry. This is a block button. This block button's broken. It's literally a Mortal Kombat block button. It's funny. I always hear people say, oh, I don't like NetherRealm games because block buttons are stupid. Bro, this game has a block button. I don't really understand. I think SF6 has a lot of things that people say they don't like about fighting games in it, but it's Street Fighter, so it's fine. I don't know what they would do to raw drive rush because, like I said, I think the game losing, if the characters lose their throw loop, I already think it's still a problem because you can't open people up in this game. There's no mix-up. I feel like no one talks about that with this game. There's no mix-ups in this game. Unless the characters got new special, there's really no mix-ups in this game to really open up my opponent. And that's kind of the other problem. Adding new specials is hard too because we gotta compensate for modern. I always forget modern exists. A lot of the characters in the game would probably not be that good without their throw loop. And also, the game would be very backpedal-y without throw loops too. I really want to see Season 3 because, like, Season 3 Street Fighter 5 was so good. Abigail was broken, but Season 3 Street Fighter 5 was so good. I want to see what happens with Street Fighter 6. Like, Elena seemed pretty bad by this Street Fighter 6 standard. Like, she didn't have a throw loop. I think she didn't have low forward drive rush. She didn't have a special cancelable heavy. So I think she didn't have a lot of stuff that, you know, make a good character in Street Fighter 6. So what I've seen so far is Elena doesn't have a throw loop from forward or back throw, even when she drive rushes. No special cancelable heavy, no special cancelable crouch medium kick. She can do crouch medium punch and just crouch jab, kind of like everyone can do right now. I mean, this is kind of all I see with Elena. I mean, no throw loop is obviously really bad, and slow drive rushes, and no cancelable crouch medium kick. So as of right now, she's kind of like in a weird spot. It's weird. I feel like Elena would be bad, but I can't. It really depends on the changes that the game actually makes as a whole.